Hey guys, Paperbird here. Today I'm doing the no disclaimers book tag. I was tagged by Marc Nash. This is a tag created by Catalyst Reads. I'll link both of their channels down below, and let's get into it. Which trope or tropes in books annoy you the most? I'm actually okay with books that take place on a sailing ship. I think that's sort of this certain tradition in Western literature, Melville, Conrad, but it's books that take place on a deserted or sparsely populated island. I think they're mostly started with a sort of fable in mind and therefore requiring a plot. I get a little bit suspicious that the author would be navigating and manipulating these characters to better suit that plot. Whereas if the setting were more plugged into the real world as we know it, there's a place called Kokomo. That's where you wanna go to get away. Same feeling with dystopian settings, intellectual characters written by intellectual writers. The idea of ending a book with massive destruction, it kind of feels like the end of a symphony and sort of expected, you know, like this fireworks show and then the exclamation point. Sometimes when I read books that come to find out are actually unfinished works, you know, maybe something by Kafka or Beckett, you get this feeling of like you're running, and then all of a sudden, you know, the book's ending and you're kind of doing this. You know, I really like this feeling right here. What are your least favorite books you've read since joining BookTube? So these two kind of stand out. I did a review on this book, so confidently written, capable literary book. More review on as well, but presented this really interesting flat view of the world. And this book adds this extra element of cuckoldry. I think it was just the way that it resolved use of questions by Edgar Allan Poe. Sort of like low affect. Question 5, which fictional characters do you wish were not killed off? I guess, well, I do wish some characters were killed off. This person could have died, so the author would have to be really good at characterization in an identifiable way. And this book here, I guess, sort of accomplished that. This man, he's an older man, and he meets up with this young girl, and she's very attractive and captivating and endearing. Just everything you would wish for is sort of almost like this male fantasy, you know. If she was like a dumpy girl, that would just seal the deal for me. Yeah, when she passes away in this book, it was a surprise, and it was this feeling of loss until you realize that her death was necessary. This writer here, okay, so Harold Brockie, he was known primarily as a short story writer, especially like in the late 50s. This writer here, some of his early works, this book, sort of like a postmodern take on the mystery genre. I think if you like Paul Auster's New York trilogy, like City of Glass. What is this one here?
And I think it was like 91. It just got panned critically, but this book is amazing, actually.
Michael Ives, especially the external combustion.
This dude, he got a death sentence put on him with this book. I mean, he was like on the nightly news and stuff. Of course, you got to mention this. What are some of your bookish pet peeves? So one of them is the use of questions in narrative, as if the writer is leading the reader along certain thought processes. Something that turns this on its head for me, though, is the writer Jason Schwartz, who writes some declarative sentences, but actually puts a question mark at the end of them, so they have this very bizarre tone to them. Another pet peeve would be just describing things with detail, so much detail that it becomes microscopic.
Please come closer.
I guess footnotes in fiction is another pet peeve of mine. Another pet peeve would be books that are so lyrical that it seems like the melody is composed first and then the words are put on top of the melody, like alliteration and assonance. I mean, this book here, whoa, why is it all fucking brown? You all have this on your copy, or is it just mine's real dirty? Page 161. Books that have this visual element that's added to it. I mean, certain writers are known for doing that, and to me, that's sort of a pet peeve. I like to keep the language element and the visual or cinematic element just completely separated. Oh, he did do this. Female writers being co-opted by feminists. Books that are just too dang heavy when they could have been published in separate volumes. What are some books you feel should have more recognition? I like books by this writer, Diane Williams, Barry Hannah, Gary Lutz, Ben Marcus, this writer here, this writer right here, who I've always held in the highest esteem up until this book came out, which was published 6 months before he passed away. He was a very old man, and somehow this book found its way into print. I heard it was like rejected and
banned everywhere. Well, it's supposed to be like a collection of his sexual fantasies, extreme sadomasochism and of girls. It's just, that's one huge knock against it. But for me, to see him write in this fashion, which is a very different style, it's a very transparent, just trying to bring the action to the forefront. I guess you kind of have to do that with pornography if you want to get off on it. But to be so different from what he was known for, this cunning, cold, calculating, objective style that was totally brilliant, for him to do this, it just seemed like a taint upon his life's work. And I don't know, not only that, it just seems like he was sacrificing that image of sustained quality for maybe a brief moment of attention, and throwing up a middle finger right before he left. But in some ways that does fit in with his personality, because he was somewhat of a provocateur. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you made it this far, really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you on the next video.